I find myself in this role as Mrs. Mona or the First Lady of Mona, and very much as David Walsh's wife. And I have mixed feelings about it.
Oh, this is a good line.
On the one hand, it's definitely highly irritating and very anti-feminist, and I don't like it. But there's benefits, too, of having a powerful man in your life. I find I get away with more.
Kirsha's a lot of things. She's complicated and flawed, but she's always authentically herself.
Beautiful form, beautiful poise.
Kirsha is both a curator and a performance artist. She is creative without a boundary.
3, 2, 1.
She just looks at the world through a different lens. She considers life as art, that the world and everything in it is a fascinating plaything.
Butlers, I think I see an empty glass.
Sometimes when you're at an artwork with her, you're never quite sure if it's an artwork, a protest, a fundraiser or a party, but it's usually all of them.
The artist behind the Ladies' Lounge exhibition at Mona in Tasmania is being sued for gender discrimination.
The Trendy Museum recently set up a women-only ladies' lounge, but a male patron became upset when he was denied entry.
I want to ask the difficult questions, but I want to ask them playfully and lovingly. And I do want it to be fun because I think that makes it easier to investigate things and go into uncomfortable spaces.
She dares to be feminine and sexual and to talk about those power dynamics. That's very confronting to us in all sorts of ways. It's confronting to men. It's confronting to the art world.
We'll see how the men take it. The men are a little hysterical. But I have had to deal with these, yes, kind of serious art world critics who just tell me that I'm not an artist, I'm not relevant, and I'm not making art. So it's like, okay. But it gave me something to fight against and to prove. I had to work harder. So, oh yeah? Tonight on Australian Story, we meet artist and curator Kirsha Kaechele. The eyebrows are great.
To get someone like Kirsha to talk about herself is an interesting challenge. Kirsha has a little bit of armour about herself, but also her life is her art, so be prepared for some surprises.
Kirsha was loud when she should have been silent. And she was bold where she should have been meek. I'm not surprised she's an artist.
She'll find some interesting ways to tell her own story that may not involve her normal clothes.
I saw her in the store. This is her last reincarnation. And this lifetime is very special because this time she's married to David Walsh. I need a good name. Is Hans Richter a good name?
Hans Richter died in 1970, in the 1870s.
Do you want to give me a kiss?
No.
I have wanted to kiss you for some time.
I would have been 15 when you died.
Please, sir, come. Come here.
She is never not in role play or part of a broader artwork. She's kind of living the artwork.
She was a strange girl. From a different family. They were different.
Her actual personal story is pretty exotic itself. Born in America, her dad is a scientist and her mum's an artist.
By the time she was 17 months, I made Play-Doh, and she sculpted every day from the time she was 17 months old. And then I did paintings of her every day. So she was totally immersed in art continuously.
Our home was always an artwork, so it's no surprise that I do installation art. It completely comes from the insane and magical and very beautiful interiors that I grew up in.
And then she moves to Guam when she's 5, which is an incredibly remote island with a giant American military base in the Pacific Ocean.
My father was super calm. He was a scientist, astrophysics. He worked at RAND Corporation in a think tank. They were the ones really strategizing and designing the technology to take over the world. On paper, you would think that my dad was in the CIA. Why were we in Guam? Really, why were we in Guam? It was such a strange choice, but I really don't think he was.
This is what it looks like on the island of Guam. It's very beautiful. She was in Guam from 5 years old to 17. Going to Guam is the best thing that ever could have happened to her. This was a totally different culture.
There was a lot of suspicion towards white people, understandably. I had to adapt. I had to learn how to connect with people that saw me as different or saw me as an outsider.
This is wonderful preparation for life. It allows her to have an insight, a real experience. It made her very brave and able to go out into the world in a very unique way.
She lost her dad when she was 17, and she came to the United States and was on her own.
The timing couldn't have been worse. He died, and then she was getting on a plane 2 months later to go to college.
Oh, Lloyd. Yeah, that was hard. I really loved my dad. All right, yes, we are on Australian Story, and I'm crying. Oh, God. Yeah. So, yeah, I lost my dad really early, and I haven't even cried about it in forever. I think seeing someone you love die changes your perspective on your own life. I thought, this is it. We're only here for a short time. We have to live our dream.
I was expecting her to become an architect and have a PhD. I really expected her to follow her dad's footsteps because she was a candidate for that. But she took off on these adventures.
As soon as I left, it was just this explosive desire to see the world. And I met, rune readers, diviners, people were doing spiritual healings on me. And when it was time to go back to school, and I decided not to, I decided to continue the experiment. When we met, we just started traveling up the coast, and we had a school bus. And we didn't have a plan, we just let spirit guide us. This is a little bit embarrassing, because I do not operate this way now. But a psychic woman told me that I needed to go to New Orleans. So that's what happened. It took me no time to find where the artists live.
I think I met KK in 2003. She had no money, and she was a working artist. She chose to make her home and to create her art project in a community within a very dangerous part of town and get to know people as people and include them and bring them into the art world.
I actually had aspirations to open a museum. And then Hurricane Katrina hit, and we lost the building as a result. And instead, I became occupied with my house and the houses on my street, which were now completely flooded and full of mud. And so I went out and got a house paint sprayer and tons of white paint. But we just decided to paint everything white: the house, the roof, the windows, the trees in front, the telephone pole. And this is now an art space. So then I invited an artist to come in and create a work.
She started utilizing other derelict houses in that same block. And she was working with international artists who she would bring in, and each artist was sort of given their own house to make an art project with.
I would say the work that's happened in this house has been about kind of coming to peace with return to the natural state of New Orleans. The art writers came out, and suddenly there was a buzz and people were interested.
Instead of an object sitting in a neighborhood as public art, the neighborhood became the public art.
She's recreating the entire floor of the house.
So it was a very rich experience that she created in this city, something that no one else had done to my knowledge previously. It was difficult for some people in the neighborhood, but she opened the door for her neighbors to participate. And there were some that wanted to, and there may have been some who didn't want to.
I think that New Orleans nurtured her soul in a way that she didn't expect it to. And she ended up starting a school in New Orleans called the Material Institute to give back to the people that gave to her.
So there's that option. Or we can take one of these sticks.
She loves New Orleans. That's like a second home to her. Anyway, she went to an art festival in Switzerland and met David.
And he had these thick glasses on. He looked extremely intelligent, and I was impressed. I was like, who are you? You are so fascinating. But then he got shy and left. But one of his friends did his work and came and invited me to dinner, and then that was that.
She was smitten, you know. She had found somebody that was her intellectual equal, and that was rare for her.
David's a Tassie boy from the northern suburbs, didn't go to posh schools. He made his fortune by being a mathematician, creating systems and processes that enable acquisition of wealth through gambling to begin with, and then through collecting artworks. And he's created Mona Museum in Tasmania.
The Museum of Old and New Art was described by its founder, David Walsh, as a subversive adult Disneyland.
I can only be with a very powerful man. I'm kind of not interested in the other ones. You know, I need a big, strong man. I need a man who's a little more powerful than me, a little smarter, a little richer. The power differential serves us at home because I'm very traditional in a way. And I think I need to feel feminine. Maybe that's really wrong, but it's how I feel.
It comes as absolutely no surprise to me whatsoever that David will not be appearing in this show. He hates talking about himself. Television's not his bag.
The menu is a full page, right?
Menu, and then images too.
When she arrived in Australia, there was reporting early on that she'd been involved in an art project in New Orleans, which involved some sort of property which she had control over which some taxes were not paid.
I inherited the penalties, basically, to the previous owner. But I had no means or intention of paying them. I just wanted to use the houses for art.
She didn't really perhaps understand what needed to be done with her properties that she had in New Orleans, and maybe didn't tend to them in the way that she could have or should have, and she got some slack.
Smaller versions of the images and the names.
Now I land in Tasmania and I have all of these people that I've never met just looking at me like, oh, David Walsh's, dubious new tax dodger wife.
That needs editing.
And I was inexperienced, with negative press. I just felt like my whole world was falling apart. It was terrible.
We need to start chopping the vegetables first. So does everyone feel comfortable using knives?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
We're in Material Institute in our new 24-karat garden cafe. It's just a learning space where kids cook and serve food. It was born out of my work in New Orleans.
Got the broth right here.
It was a big thing to move to Tasmania, but I was at a stage in my life where my priority was to build a family. I just really wanted to be a mother. Now I have a husband and a daughter, and his daughters. I knew it would be an enormous sacrifice and would definitely interfere with my work, and it absolutely has, but I love it. It's good for us, it's good for David and I, we love her together. It's really beautiful.
So what I want you to do is take your lavender flower and pop it into the water.
I think that her becoming a mother has made her more grounded and more, dare I say, responsible.
Okay, ready?
But actually more welcoming to the world because she's had to change her ways.
That's so refreshing.
You got my glasses.
For the past year, I've been the artistic director of Bleach Festival on the Gold Coast. We invited Kirsha to bring the Ladies' Lounge up to Queensland.
The Gold Coast is a hotbed of masculinity, and the beaches are full of raw muscle. And of course, that makes the Ladies' Lounge more exciting.
And it's a big production. There were times when I did call her and say, look, we are so far over budget, can we maybe do something else? And inevitably, I'd put the phone down and I'd agree to more things.
We're here today on behalf of all men to apologize for many centuries of pain, oppression, and suffering.
I'm definitely an aesthetic dictator. Absolutely. I know when it's right. You know, there is an avenue for men to come in, but they come in as a butler. I do probably count on my team. They could get burnt out because when I get into the zone with the work, I'm focused on it and I won't stop. And with the left arm, you're gonna take the baby. And don't drop the baby.
Kirsha's just uncompromising, and it's very easy to call that person difficult to work with or a diva or whatever, but she is so singular in her focus and her vision for what she wants to deliver.
Ladies, we have another graduate of the Butler Training Program.
And that's what good work costs. It's hard.
The Ladies' Lounge originally came about at the end of COVID when Mona was reopening.
Kirsha was going to get some tremendous art, put it in a beautifully designed room into which no men would be allowed except for butlers who she said would do what they were told.
For millennia, women have been excluded from spaces and women have been serving men. It's really healthy to just exercise the opposite, just as a new perspective.
She wanted to get some Picassos in there, and so she painted some Picassos herself.
I was certain I would be discovered, and I was excited about being splashed over across the front page, you know, scandal, art scandal.
We even hung one of them upside down deliberately to, you know, be a tell. There were all of these clues around the place, and it just took so long before something official happened.
Hello, welcome to the Ladies' Lounge.
The Ladies' Lounge was just running smoothly. It was just this nice, quiet place for women to bond. And men were being excluded daily and having their experiences around that. I think most men found it funny or interesting. One man came along and he was from Sydney and he filed his formal complaint.
Jason Lau has taken the museum to the Tasmanian Civil and Administrative Tribunal alleging discrimination.
So I was like, yes, yes, this is gonna be so good for the art. I was so excited. I'm like, now the artwork is alive. Now it's happening.
For Kirsha, it was a real moment to be able to show the artwork for what it really is and what it stands for.
The rejection of men is a very central and important part of the artwork.
There was a cohort of Kirsha's friends and supporters. As we headed towards the courtroom, someone threw a strand of pearls around my necklace and we all had our navy suits on.
The performative aspects of that court case, of walking that fine line between performance and contempt, caught the media's attention in Australia and worldwide.
I asked my lawyer, I said, do you think you could try to lose? She said, no, absolutely not. And I was crossing my fingers, please let us lose, please let us lose. And then the ruling arrived and it was incredible. It was a dream.
The tribunal has found the Ladies' Lounge discriminatory and has ordered Mona to allow men entry within 28 days.
She spun it into her web of performance and it became art. It became theatre.
They say that that the artwork has to be reformed, but I fear it's beyond reform. I don't.
Her response was fairly typical of Kirsha. She picked up the best of the art and stuck it in the women's toilets. And then attention was drawn to the fact that there were also fake Picassos in there.
Tasmania's Museum of Old and New Art has admitted displaying 3 fake Picasso paintings for more than 3 years.
And so now my husband, he's taking all of this heat, and they're like, why is Mona showing fake art?
They're going to lose all credibility.
I think she's the nightmare of the art world. No one takes her very seriously. She's a Fruit Loop. She's a cuckoo.
The women fighting to exclude men from a lounge at Hobart's Mona Museum have had a legal victory today. A Supreme Court judge has ruled the so-called Ladies' Lounge can lawfully refuse to admit men.
The verdict demonstrates a simple truth. Women are better than men.
The Ladies' Lounge in the court case really transformed Kirsha's profile.
She is famous now because of her work, not because she's Mrs. Walsh.
They're Picasso.
Is it real?
Yes. No, yes, they are.
Can I see the Picasso again? Because
Only if you clean it.
Okay, but I want to see it again.
I'm really interested in the Ladies' Lounge now, in its next stage. My artist's ego wants to be invited to the Venice Biennale. I don't want to have to break my way in, like always. It holds a lot of promise. I think the Ladies' Lounge could actually be a type of embassy, a space for women to work on things like international peace accords.
I think she's very aware of the power of art and her performance and her ability to break a stalemate.
I'm fascinated by disputes, and I'm fascinated by the possibility of what people can find that they have in common and ways in which they can move forward past entrenched positions.
When she first mentioned that she wanted to do the Forest Economic Congress with greenies and loggers, I was actually surprised. I thought it was pretty bold.
A huge range of people had been invited, not just environmentalists and people in the industry. It was scientists, it was ecologists, people who look into forestry finance and economics.
I believe we need to actually just invite our opponents literally to our parties. We should get smashed with someone who doesn't agree with us so we can actually hash it out.
I don't think people from the mainland understand just how contentious forestry is in Tasmania. There are people who came together at Mona who have only ever seen each other across picket lines or across lines in the forest.
I had a slight fear that we were going to be a performer in some grand performance art piece, and it might be this huge, big, haha, gotcha sort of thing.
What is the value of a tree? And moreover, what is the value of nature?
There was definitely some hostility and apprehension from a lot of people because this was very new. A lot of people have been playing this game, for want of a better term, in their silos for a long time.
We're here to listen and to connect as people, beyond our personal ideologies. I am not fearless. I am often completely terrified. But there is a part of me that is enjoying it and really takes delight in the situation as it unfolds, even the hard parts.
Mona is a wicked place to hold an event like that because it completely disarms everybody. It was like an emotional roller coaster for 3 days. Big feelings and then some weird art, you know, and then more big discussions and some weird art.
I don't know why tequila diplomacy is so effective. By the final night, late in the morning when the really radical performances were happening, they may have already had a shot of tequila or at least some champagne. And yeah, the walls really came down. It was really easy to then take the next step and say, let's all meet in a smaller group now and discuss this specific issue.
Was it a success? I don't know if it achieved significant long-term goals. It did facilitate a lot of discussion between people who have never spoken with each other before.
I think there were some people that thought it was a bit of a greenwash. Some of the conservationists feel they're not being engaged since the Congress. I think there needs to be that dialogue with both sides and continue to have those sides talking.
But like in the say in the dry forest,
some people are afraid that I am too close to the loggers, and some environmentalists have told me, you know, I just see you buying them drinks. Like, well, everyone lobbies in their own way.
It's very difficult to compete in the Australian market.
And I think that because I do, I'm able to actually have hard conversations and say what does stand between us and best practice. You know, what can change.
Kirsha started talking about this sit-in that she wanted to do on the beach, women nude or topless, some months ago. I was a bit worried when she first described it. I thought, oh, we might get into trouble. What are the regulations around this? But as always with Kirsha, she just figures it all out and it's all fine.
I'm the descendant of Germans who have absolutely no issues with nudity. And so I'm always taken aback when I enter a culture that has shame around the body. Someone said to me that in the Gold Coast, the women in the 70s and 80s used to really go topless. And I thought, well, here I am on the Gold Coast, we really need to bring this back. If there is an issue and the police do come up, I think that will spark a really interesting conversation.
I don't know, I'm getting older. I think there's less and less opportunities to do something a bit wild like this. It just was joyful, actually.
You feel shy and then the inhibitions just drop away.
I suppose with Kirsha, the dance between the serious and the frivolous it's a bit of a tightrope, that one. It'll be interesting to see how she balances those two things, because something can be both.
It's not easy to embrace what Kirsha does, but I think if she continues to develop the ideas that she is working with, there will be a time when the art world, so to speak, sees how important it is what she is doing.
I think she brings people into it, which brings a whole new dynamic to art.
Art should be lived and it should be something that is experiential. Bring your body to the event, bring your whole self. And also really challenges what our idea of art is.
I myself am baffled, you know, a good portion of the time where I'm like, is this art? You know, does this count for art? But it does tend to come around and I realize, yes, this is art. I make life art. Walking with all of those women on the beach, this feeling that it's just us, it's our space, it just took on this quality of a ritual, and it was so transcendent and beautiful. I just felt like, yes, this is the power of art.
We sang Ave Nananzuus, which is...
This one's gonna get me, okay?
Ave.
Maybe everyone you go away, Marissa.
Ave. I saw your face. Ave Maria. such a pleasure to be on your show. I'm so excited to watch it.